Hey boss man, what can I do for you?
Hey Finn, instead of doing fun stuff, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and come in on the weekend.
Oh, you didn't hear?
Hear what?
Yeah, I quit this soul-sucking hellhole this morning. And my 2 weeks notice is that you'll notice in 2 weeks, I haven't been here for 2 weeks.
Son of a bitch!
What's up guys, it's Frankie here. In this video, this is actually the #1 question I've been asked over the last 5 years. How do I get my first client? If you were me and you were starting over, how would you get to 10K a month? And I'm gonna lay this out for you guys in terms of traps, common things that beginners fall for that like sound really good, but I'll tell you why there's not as much of a good idea as they seem. The actual math, numbers you'll need to hit to not only hit 10K, but stay there. The strategies that will actually get you there. And then in terms of breaking it down in terms of step-by-step stuff that you need to go do so that you guys can go hit those magic numbers. For those of you guys who don't know me already, by the way, my name's Frankie Finn. Wrote 2 best-selling books, one on growing a digital marketing agency. My newest book just launched on Amazon, is already a bestseller. Passive automated recurring income. I built 3 of my own agencies up to 100 plus clients, and now I've got the opportunity to help thousands of you guys out there to live this more beach, less laptop. Let's get into the hitting that 10K a month, and you guys are gonna wanna watch this video all the way through, because at the end of this, I'm gonna give you a tool that will implement or make helping implement those steps super easy, and it's also free, and it uses the AI to dramatically assist you with speeding up that process. So let's get into the details. So I want to tell you guys a little story. For me, 10K a month was actually a real magic number because the first time I ever hit it was the moment I realized I would never have to go back to a real job in my life. And it's been over 20 years since I actually had a real job. And I don't do any traffic, I don't do any alarm clocks, there's no more bosses, and I know a lot of you guys are dealing with that. And also the non-believers, like there's always the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, the brother, the cousin, the uncle, the friend who doesn't believe in your business idea. And when you actually have 10K a month, you can say, no, like I make real money in this thing, and you can kind of tell everybody to fuck off and shut up. So before we get into what to actually do, there are a lot of things out there that really screw over beginners, and I want to kind of lay these things out because when you guys hit this, like it'll be time to do your happy dance.
Bring it back now. Bring it back now.
All right, by the way, that's a ridiculous clip. So I'll tell you the #1 thing that keeps beginners stuck is they want entrepreneurship to be like a job where it has a step-by-step system. And there are definitely steps and principles that guide this, but I'll give you a real-life example of why this is a bad idea. So Ty Lopez, a lot of you guys may know him, he created a social media course for how you can, like get a bunch of social media clients and in the general contracting niche. And I'm sure in the beginning, like he had an outreach message for here's how you contact clients and get them to buy the system. And when they did it in the beginning, it worked really well, but they actually sold 60,000 copies of that course. And people tell me today that people still buy that course. They send that exact same copy and paste message. And what happens is people get that message and it works in the beginning, and then eventually over time it becomes a Me Too offer. So every time you follow somebody's exact step-by-step system, there's a cycle this follows where it has this early excitement and then eventually dies off. So right now at the time of recording this, everybody's getting into AI chatbots. It's exciting in the beginning, but eventually that will become a Me Too offer. And so if you follow somebody's exact step-by-step system, you're gonna end up with something that's not all that valuable in the marketplace, and you're gonna end up saying, me too. We do Facebook ads, me too. And you're gonna end up being the 1,000th person selling the exact same thing. So I understand the appeal because it would be nice if somebody could just lay it out. And I'm gonna show you the principles so that you guys can actually reverse engineer this on your own. And it's way simpler than most people make it. But if you follow a copy and paste step-by-step system, inevitably, it'll work well in the beginning, and then give it a year or two, and you'll be back at 0, and you'll be wondering, how do I get to 10K again? So let's not do that, okay? Tell you the second trap, okay, is thinking about your deliverables first. So I meet people that spend months and months and months, and they'll say things like, should I do Facebook ads? Should I do pay-per-click? That email thing's cool. Should I be doing chatbots? And I'll tell you why this is backwards. Because it's not about you. It's actually about what the end client is after. And so you actually have to start with the other person and then figure out which deliverables will help them get there the fastest. What most people do is they start with themselves, what I know how to do, what I'm cool at, what I'm good at, and that's really not what people give a shit about. So if you start with the deliverables, you'll end up in this kind of what I call this mental circle jerk where you'll think of all these things on the sideline that you could be doing and you'll have no clarity about it. And the minute somebody tells you like, hey, I'm trying to bring in a roofing install, all of a sudden which deliverable you should be using will make a lot more sense based on what somebody's trying to do. So don't start with the deliverables, start with the person you're trying to serve. Okay, third trap, it's the niche. Here's what a lot of people think. If I choose the wrong niche, I'm going to be broke forever. I need to pick a niche that has money, and they make this a big, big, heavy decision. And so I see people that like 9 months later, 12 months later, still haven't decided on a niche. There's two reasons you want to pick a niche. Reason number one is so you can actually create a message that's meaningful. I had a mentor years ago say to me, I want you to write an ad for an athlete, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't picture like what to say in the ad. Then he said, I want you to write an ad for a left-handed golfer with a slice. And I almost could write the ad instantaneously. Dear left-handed golfer, do you got a slice? Do you know we're not like righties? Do you know that the reason you're slicing the ball is because of A, B, and C? And in fact, we created a tool and a product that will make you hit it perfectly straight down the fairway every time, and it works especially for left-handed golfers with a slice. So that's the first reason. When you have a niche, you can say something meaningful in your message. When you're trying to talk to everybody, you end up talking to nobody, okay? The second reason is because it makes your fulfillment easier. Like when McDonald's first scaled, all they sold were burgers. When Amazon first scaled, all they sold were books. It's a lot easier just to deliver the same burger over and over so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's the reason for picking a niche. So the reason I say this is that every niche is like a spectrum, right? So this is like a line. It's probably a bad example. But anyway, there's people at the top, there's like the top 5-10% who have shit tons of money in your industry, and then there's a bottom percentage that are broke. This doesn't matter whether you work with e-commerce or plumbers or dentists. You're aiming for the people in the industry that have the money, right? So I don't want you to think about a niche like, does this niche have money? Does this niche not have money? If there's a niche at all, somebody's making money. It's not a question of, is there money in it? It's, are you aiming for the people within the niche who have money? A lot of times people falsely think, I'm trying to go after any dentist with a credit card, and you're actually going after the dentist who invest in marketing and pay for teams to solve problems. If you do that, any niche will work. Just fucking pick one. In fact, this should not take you more than 48 to 72 hours. Yeah, you probably want to think about it a little bit. And then the other trap I see with niches is people change every 30 days. And I made another video on this, but the average time for an agency sale, by the way, just so you know, is 45 days. So if you, that should have an S. So if you re-choose a niche because it turns out it's a little bit difficult and you meet resistance, and this comes from the fact that, yeah, the minute you enter a niche, you're ready for people to pay you on day one, but that doesn't mean they're ready. It takes them 45 days because they need information. They need to know about you. They need to know about your process. So if you're going to pick a niche, stick with that motherfucker for 6 to 12 months and you'll have a much easier time than most people do, because a lot of times people start over every 30, 60 days and they never build any real momentum. Let's get into the next piece. So this kind of piggybacks on the last one, is a lot of people go after the wrong clients. And this comes from a scarcity place where they're thinking, like, I'm just getting started. Anybody who pays me is cool. And what you'll find out is 80% of any industry is broke. It doesn't matter which industry you're in, and they don't invest in marketing. And I kind of compare this to, like, imagine, for example, I tell you, you got to sell barbecue pork ribs, and you go take your barbecue pork ribs, and I send you to the Jewish Vegetarian Conference. What do you think is going to happen? Well, I don't care what your message is. I don't care what your offer is. I don't care how awesome your shit is. You're not going to sell any because you're trying to sell ribs to vegetarians, Jewish vegetarians who especially don't eat pork, right? So we want to focus on the top 10 to 20% of people in our industry. And a lot of times people think, well, I'm brand new. I'm not ready to work with a $100 million law practice. I'm not ready. And this is like thinking, I'm not ready to date the prom queen. I'll just date 5 or 6 cave trolls first until I'm ready. And what you'll find is you'll never be able to help the cave trolls on meth, because you got to aim for the top 10 to 20%. You got to date the prom queen on day one. So a big mistake people make is they just think anybody in my niche with a credit card is qualified, and you actually, marketing services work really well for amplifying people who are already winning in the game of business. It does not work well as a savior model where you're saving businesses that are struggling. This is a different mindset shift, because I used to think it was about saving businesses, and it's really more about helping winners win more. The people who are already the top 10, 20% in your market succeed even more. And when you get this right, it's kind of like straight Luigi. All right, so this is the last piece a lot of beginners don't understand, is they think in terms of the wrong order. They think that they have to come up with a plan and get paid. So a lot of people starting out have this backwards. When you work at a job, you get a paycheck, and then your ass goes and does shit. When you're in entrepreneurship, you do shit, and then you get paid on the back end of that. And the beautiful thing is those payments are often a lot bigger when you do. So I'll give you a story that illustrates kind of the concept that I'm talking about. There was a girl, she was trying to get her first ever web design client. And she had, like many of you guys had, she had no case studies, she had no testimonials, there was nothing she was working with. And in her local Facebook community, it was a community like for her city, a Chinese restaurant had posted, hey, we're looking for a new website. Does anybody here do that? And they had 200 responses within the hour. Well, they were only down the street from her. So she decided to do two things. She printed out on a piece of paper their existing website, and then on another piece of paper, she made a little mock-up and then printed it out. Then she went into the restaurant and said, I know you guys are looking for a new website. This is your old one. This is what I would like to build for you. What do you think of it? Okay, so what most people do is they think, just like when you're middle class and you're trying to get a job, you're waiting for somebody to hire you. But she actually was proactive and made at least a mock-up of the website and brought them to them. And I look at it this way. Ideas equal free, implementation equals money. So she can give them the website idea for free and then say, if you want my help actually implementing that, we're charging money. So most people think, I'll come up with the plan after you give me money. And I promise you, if you want people to give you money, reverse the order. Say, this is the website I want to build you. This is the ad campaign I want to run for you. This is the SEO stuff I want to do for you. Come up with the plan, because ideas are free, and then charge to implement said plan. This means you're going to start doing stuff for businesses long before they pay you. Most people sit around just like an HR manager waiting for like the HR manager to call them back, and that's not what you want to do. You want to get to work building the thing and just do it in idea form, the minimum viable idea, and give it to them. Give them a real plan, and what you'll find is people will pay you. If you reverse the order of what most people do, she could easily have said, hey, Chinese restaurant, hire me and then I'll build you a website, but you aren't going to get hired that way. Instead, she said, here's the website, now hire me and you can have it. And that's the place you want to come from. All right, let's talk math for you guys to actually hit this. By the way, I'm going to tell most of you guys that you should, this says 1 to 3K per month. That's a K. It's hard to write on these scribble charts, just so you know. So 1 to 3K a month, that's what you guys should charge. And there's a magic reasoning for this, by the way, when you're starting out. It gives you enough room that you can actually hire somebody and you can get some help. But also, you're cheaper than for them to hire an employee and try and do this themselves, right? So it makes more sense to pay you than not pay you. And for most of you guys in that range, you're anywhere from like 4 to like 10 clients. And I'd say for the vast majority of you guys, like $1,500 a month, you're looking at 4 to 8 clients. So we don't really need a lot of people. That's the beautiful thing about this model, is that you really only need 4 to 8 people. And if you aim for the top 10 to 20%, you're going to end up with people that not only help you hit 10K a month, but fucking stay there, which is just important, right? So for the vast majority of you guys, bending down here, we're really only aiming at 4 to 8 people. Like, that's a very doable, like, I'm not saying that's easy, but it's a very climbable mountain, and you can do this if you're listening to this, especially if you set your mind to a niche and you continue to work at it and do it for, 6 to 12 months continuously. So let's talk next step, strategies. This is the magic part where you get people to buy your shit.
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy. So here's my number, now buy my shit.
Okay, so there is 6 basically proven ways to get good clients. I left out Upwork as one of those because I think Upwork can get clients, but I don't think that's where you really get good clients and like top tier kind of clients. That's where you get bottom feeders that are kind of looking for the cheapest stuff. So I want to lay these out because you guys are going to have to do one of these. And I'll tell you, most people think they have to do the first one, which is one-to-one. Cold outreach, cold DMs, cold messaging, cold calling. Does work, but it's like literally the least efficient method. I think it's popular with a lot of people starting out because it's the easiest one to wrap your mind around and it's free, but it's also the slowest and the most competitive, right? Like people literally get, like some of my clients tell me they get 100 pitches a day in their inbox every single day, which means they're getting like 40,000 of these pitches a year, every year. And so the barrier to stand out is like way more intense than most people realize. Now the second option is, if you can afford it, is you run paid ads and bring people to you. And I'll tell you, the simplest ad platform that I think is to get started and get clients is Facebook ads. And I have a little formula. Same as here. We're giving away plan for free. And so all we're doing is we're running little $50 test ads. And if people want, if we run $50 of ads and nobody says, tell me more about that website, tell me more about that ad campaign, all high ticket sales begin with curiosity. So we're not looking for like, do people stand on their chair and hurl their credit card? We're looking at people to say, tell me more about what it is you guys do. If for 50 bucks that happens, keep going. If it doesn't, stop the ad. So that's our kind of what works for us. Next piece is you publish content. You guys are looking at it like this brings me people, just so you guys know, right? But for you guys to publish content means like you're going to have either a YouTube channel, or you're going to publish a blog, or you're going to go in LinkedIn groups and you're going to make regular posts. You're going to go on Facebook and you're going to post stuff. You're going to start a Facebook community or something like that. You're going to give people a way to find out that you exist. Fourth way, by the way, networking. And I'll tell you, networking works really well if you're in a big ass city, because the chances are there's already free meetup groups, there's already free events, there's already people getting together. You just have to kind of insert yourself into the flow that's already happening. And I would tell you, for most of you guys, this is actually a way easier way to get started than this. And by the way, what do you talk to people about? You don't tell them about you. You tell them about ideas. You say, hey, I had an idea for your website. I had an idea for your ads. I had an idea for you to rank #1 in Google. Give the ideas away for free. Like, it's the same process. Fifth thing, and this is my favorite way of doing it, is it's still, we're messaging people, but we're going after audience owners. So in every industry, it doesn't matter where you're in, there's already a monetary flow. I learned this when I spoke a lot of years ago, pre-COVID days, but before all that madness. I spoke at a lot of events, especially in the legal space, and you would see that like hundreds of thousands of dollars in deals like right in front of you would get done, and people would buy software and tools and courses and events, and there were authors and consultants and podcasts and book deals and other industry associations, and they would buy other marketing services and events and conferences and getaways and retreats, and all those kind of things are sold. And I started to recognize all of those people, by and large, are also content creators. And the magic of doing this is you actually don't have to message a lot of people. So we did this in the water damage restoration space. I had a challenge I created, which was basically like, if you were me and you're starting over, what would you do? So I decided to start over. I gave myself no money to do it. And I just reached out to audience owners. So for me, I went after industry associations, and I published stuff in their things. So I noticed like one of them, they had a 5-minute interview the experts. So I gave them some cool stuff on like how to create content and how you can use that for SEO. And we did... wrote an article in one of their industry magazines, which went on the front cover. And as a result of this, we ended up speaking. We got invited to speak on one of the stage. We had our stuff go out to tens of thousands of people, and some of our YouTube videos that we published in their audience, not in our audience, had 5,000, 10,000 views in the first 24 hours. We never could have done that if we didn't start with people who already had audiences. And then the last one is, I'm just going to write REF, which stands for referral partners, is you're going to make partners in the industry that like, know, and trust you and send you people. And I find the best people who make the best referral partners are audience owners, and it kills 3 birds with 1 stone. 4 birds, actually, because when we go to audience owners, we later turn them into referral partners. We're able to publish content, and that content works as the best paid ad. So as Ricky from Trailer Park Boys would say, get 4 birds stoned at once. So you're going to have to do one of these things, is the point of this rant. Okay, so you have to pick the one that makes the most sense for you. But like, that's how you're going to go get clients. Pick one of those and decide to go all in. Now let's talk about actual action steps. This is the part where you're able to take this away and go and build a business. You guys are going to see this is simpler than what most people think it is. Tell them, Rick. Woo! 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 Nothing but shenanigans here. Some of you guys are probably too young to get that reference. Anyway, so let's talk actual action steps. How do you put this into the real world? There are steps. Even though I can't give you the step-by-step system, do this exactly, I can give you the principles that govern it. So the first thing you have to decide on, and this is a thing that most people start with. Actually, let's write in step 3 right here, which is the deliverables. Most people think step one is to figure out what your deliverables are, but you can't actually figure out what your deliverables are until you decide first, who are you going to do this for, right? Because a service ultimately has to be about someone else, right? It can't be about you. And so this is actually a thing that trips people up because they're too much in their head about themselves and how do I get here? And I call it the question your sanity phase. But what you need to do is actually just decide on who you're going to do this for and focus on them. And what happens is when you do this, you'll create a business that's actually market driven. So I'm going to give you an example of this as we get into step 2 here, which is we have to find out, once we have a who, we have to find out their problems. And just so you know, I have a whole video on this channel that walks you through to figure out what their problems are. It's called the unfair sales advantage. You just search on this channel, you'll find the unfair sales advantage. But the deal with it is, if you actually build a business that solves a problem people actually have, you're going to get paid for it. If you build another Me Too offer, you're going to have a really hard time selling it. My favorite example of this, in my hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which is close enough to Detroit to hear the gunshots without being hit, there's just way too many auto body shops. It's a very automotive city, just like Detroit, like Ford, General Motors, Chrysler. And all these guys start auto body shops, presumably because they're like, man, I fucking hate working for somebody else. I'm going to start my own shop. I'm going to do my own thing. And what happens is they struggle to sell it because they're just another Me Too body shop, right? Well, there's a guy in a little bit in the ghetto. It's called Drulard Road. And he sells Volkswagen repairs. So he's an auto body shop, but it's with a little bit of a twist. And I remember we actually had a car accident. I was at my brother's house. They were kind of fighting, and the Chinese food guy knocked on the door in the middle of him and his wife fighting. And then 5 minutes later, he knocked at the door again. Felt like I was having deja vu. And what had happened is he must have been texting and driving, but he backed into my brother's car. And my brother's car, from getting hit, then rolled into my girlfriend's car. And we had his tailpipe went through her Volkswagen Beetle. Well, when we went to these different auto body shops, we went to as part of the insurance process, you have to get 3 quotes. And we went to 3 different places, the ones the insurance company recommended. And all 3 of them said, oh, we don't work on Volkswagens. You're going to have to go to the guy on Drulard Road who specializes in that. So here's a guy on Drulard Road, because he started with a problem, is nobody works on Volkswagens. He was backed up for a month in a city with too many auto body workers to begin with. So what ends up happening is it's often just a 10-degree shift in what you're doing. It's the difference between we run paid ads on Facebook to we run paid ads to get you high-end motorcycle cases. But you have to start with your market and their problem. And then what will happen is when you get to the step where your deliverables are in place, it'll make more sense based on the problem. So all you have to ask yourself about deliverables is if I'm going to solve this problem over here, what are the best deliverables that are going to get me there? How would I solve this problem? Would I run ads? Would I do SEO? Would I build a website? And you should build a deliverable that you fucking believe in, right? So again, the first 2 steps have literally nothing to do with you. It's I would call this right here research. That's all it is. The first 2 steps are figuring out who are we going to help and what are we going to help them with? And then what happens is, this is the part people overthink, the deliverables, but when you have a clear problem that you're aiming for, the deliverables will become much simpler. And then the last piece is prospect. Your life fucking depends on it, and go put it out there, and you're going to do one of these 6 things. You're either going to be one-to-one messaging people, you're going to be running ads, you're going to be putting content out there, you're going to be doing some networking, you're going to be publishing stuff in other people's audiences, or you're going to be going after referral partners. But that's basically it. And I'll tell you what trips people up is because they're so looking for a step-by-step system, they almost always start with themselves, which is the wrong reason to start a business. You just end up with another Me Too sort of auto body shop situation. But if you start with the who and the problems, and by the way, business has endless problems. I was actually talking to somebody else about this the other day. They said, is my niche too saturated? Or it seems like everybody solved a problem. I want you to know that in business, problems are endless, just like in life, right? So I see a new agency owner, and they start and they struggle with getting clients, and eventually they figure that out. And then they have a new problem called they got to fulfill on the promises they actually created. And if they get good at that and they get good at selling it, then they'll get in a new stage called I have to hire people. And there's a new problem called hiring. And then after that, if they keep going, they'll have a new problem called managing people. And it just continues, and you get better and better problems as you go. But the problems are never finished. So I want you to not go into it with the idea that hey, my market's already too saturated and this kind of defeated attitude. I want you to go into the knowing for a fact that there are unmet problems, that even though there's too many auto body shops in the city already, somebody else hasn't done it for Volkswagens. And so you can like build a month-long waiting list of clients just because you're the only one doing Volkswagens, right? So you ultimately want to end up with a business that is in what I would call a category of one, which means you're literally the only motherfucker who does what you do. And it starts by just uniquely solving problem with your unique deliverable. So I hope I've laid for this for you guys a step-by-step system. I also wanted to include, we got a link. I created an AI tool that will help you decide who you're probably best suited to do this. What you do is you answer some questions about your life experience and what you've been doing and what you're thinking of doing. And then what will happen is it'll suggest 3 potential niches for you. And then we have a research tool for finding their problems. And then the deliverables, we have some suggestions as well as like white label providers that can actually do the delivery work for you. And then the prospecting stuff, if you guys are interested, that's the paid part, by the way. I help you guys implement those things because the idea is for free, but the implementation, if you want some help prospecting, like your life depends on it, and building systems to do that, we should talk. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys in this video. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe, and may the force be with you.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, like actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint and everything you need to know, getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.